Hi, my name is Kayleen. This is my 13th video on my YouTube channel, but boy do I feel unpopular. I only have 22 subscribers. I'm trying to get more subscriptions, so if you have any interest in caregiving and fitness, please subscribe to my channel. This is, like I said, this is my 13th video. I started this YouTube channel to promote my book. I am writing a graphic memoir of how I used my health and fitness knowledge to stop my mother with mild dementia from forgetting me, and it worked. And I detail that over my whole graphic memoir, and I've told and talked a lot about a lot of different ideas on my previous 12 videos. But this video is entitled Why I'm Glad That I Decided to Caregive, and I fought a nursing home with a nursing home corporation in probate court for 2 months to get my mother out. So I'm not a lawyer or I'm not a doctor, but I can read and learn just like anybody else can and just like you can. So what this nursing home did is my mother went in there for very mild neck injury. She fell and she had a minor neck injury. And of course, the medical industry immediately, when she falls, they say that she's wandering. So my question is, when is it wandering and when is it when you're just walking by your house and you fall? But they immediately list it as wandering. She went into this nursing home to rehabilitate, and the day that she went in, they did this thing called invoking the healthcare proxy, and they use it as a way to imprison her, and they would not let me take her out. That's not what a healthcare proxy is for. And they also did it illegally with a nurse instead of even using a doctor. They didn't do all the steps that's laid out in the chapters and all the legal information that I read. Their lawyer deceived me. I'm pretty damn sure that Elder Services also shared private confidential information with this nursing home, and they used it as some of the information on the court documents to try to put my mother in a lockdown unit. So they wanted to lock my mother in a lockdown unit with maybe one person, another patient that was able to have any conversation. Everybody else in there was catatonic and on machines, and all the machines are chirping and burping every single second. And their attorney deceived me on several times, trying to get me to give up. And I did not give up, and I'm glad. I was persistent. I was kind. I was mad at them very often, but if I showed any anger, they would have used it against me. There was no reason why Elder Services ever should have been involved. There was no reason that my caregiving should have been at question whatsoever. Many times the nursing home caused the behavior by giving my mother some antipsychotics or drugs, and then they blame my mother for her behavior. The literature also states that 1 in 4 people in any type of facility will be abused or neglected. And the literature also suggests if you put somebody in a home that you should be watching them closely for what might happen. So my answer is, if you have to watch them closely, maybe you should take care of them yourself. And you should get paid for that. I do hear people criticize that a family member should not get paid for taking care of their family. And my answer to that is, well, this person needs some help, something at all. Somebody has to do it, and somebody will get paid for doing that. So why can't the family member get paid for that? So after the 2 months, I won in probate court against this nursing home and moved my mother out with me here in California. And I look back, and it would have been absolutely cruel and inhumane to have left my mother in that lockdown unit, at least for my mother. I know there's many, many different levels of cognitive function. My mother needed help. She couldn't live alone anymore, but she did need to be watched 24/7. And my book details everything she learned. She loved moving out here. She was challenged. One reason I mention in my book is that some people don't want to take care of somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's because they repeat themselves so much. And I think a lot of us do. The literature for meditation, since I teach all kinds of health information, says our brain does recycle the same information all the time. 90% of what your thoughts are, you're recycling them, and that's what meditation is for. So if they are repeating themselves, that's because they're bored, just like you're bored. When you're not studying, reading, watching TV, your brain is recycling everything as well too. So we always keep part of my book is I also talk about the trouble people caused, and they blamed my mother and told me to watch her when she made the same mistakes that everybody else did. So she was always able to converse and have a normal conversation. She wouldn't remember it the next day or that person sometimes, but I've had that happen to me all the time, and I bet you have too. I bet you've met somebody out, had a long conversation with them, and maybe you see them within 6 months and they don't have any recollection of you or the conversation. So that happens with everybody. So if this nursing home had won, it would have been devastating to my mother because she would have been abandoned. And that's one reason in my book, people always question me. And I said, no, my mother does not wander aimlessly. She has an invisible tether. And people would always go, are you sure? And which sometimes would get me upset because I know what my mother's capabilities were. I wouldn't bring her out and put her in danger if that was the case. So people would always say, are you sure? So she was always careful because she didn't want to get lost. She did things specifically. She'd walk straight down a mile from my street and straight back. She did that many, many places. She was careful. The same thing that we did before GPS. I used to do something like that when I used to travel and go for a walk. I would just walk straight down the street and straight back so I didn't get lost. She would have had nobody else to talk to except for one other patient the entire time that she was locked up in there. They would have, they wanted the insurance money. She was worth $1 million. Nursing homes get somewhere between $5 and $15 grand a month. And she would have had no brain stimulation, which I forgot earlier saying that when I kept my mother out and about, she didn't repeat herself. So if somebody is repeating themselves a lot, then try doing something for brain stimulation. So I used to take my mother on train trips, on bus rides, because I hate to drive and she hated to stay home. So that was always a good. She got to see everything, and then I also got to not just hang out and also draw and stuff. So she wouldn't have had any exercise. Feldenkrais, famous brain, lots of books. There's so much evidence that a brain cannot function without motor function. So if somebody is just sitting all the time, their brain's going to keep on deteriorating. And they would have given her the reverse possible foods if she'd stayed in there. They would have given her all GMO foods, all wheat, no greens, no nuts or seeds, although I couldn't get my mother to eat nuts and seeds, but I would trick her and I would do some other ways to get in there. So this is all the reasons why I'm glad that I fought this nursing home and why I took care of my mother. It did make for things to come full circle. I know that sounds kind of corny, but it did come full circle. I liked art and drawing growing up, but then I used that as a way taking care of my mother. I got back into art and brought her to lots of paint nights. So then I could paint and draw, and she got to be out. So there was lots of other good ways that helped me as well. Thanks for listening. Please think about subscribing if you can, and of course, if you like this video and I gave you some information, please like it. I would love to have some comments, questions. I would love to share. I had a lot of stuff happen to me taking care of my mother, so my book is very entertaining. Thanks.